I'd like to call to order the August 26, 2020 Brooklyn City Board of Education regular meeting. Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes. Here.
Mr. Neal.
Here.
Mr. Roper.
Here.
Mr. Slattery.
Here.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Here, stand for the pledge, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now on to Dr. Caleres. Do you have a report?
I do, yes. Good evening, Mrs. Bartek, Board of Education. My report for this evening, we welcome back the staff this past Monday. We started opening convocation in our field house, physically distanced, of course. Want to thank Mr. Slattery for attending that morning. Started with a welcome, and we had a keynote speaker, Jack Berkmeyer. Known Jack for quite a while. When I originally left Brooklyn, he was in Sandusky as one of our consultants, and then happened to do some work with him at Cuyahoga Heights, and just started off the convocation with a good message, good energy, and it was a great way to start the day. Monday and Tuesday were professional development days for staff. Today was a work day. And then on Thursday and Friday, we will have technology-specific professional developments so that when we get rolling on September 8th, staff will be ready to go. So it was a great opening. Want to welcome all staff back. Excited to have people back in the building for sure. And again, thank you, Ms. Slattery, for coming. Really appreciate it.
It was well worth it.
Yeah, orientation week begins next week for all students. So both our buildings will have orientation activities in which students will be coming in small groups. Our elementary kids will be accompanied by parents, but that'll be done in small groups where we'll distribute materials, books, Chromebooks, but it's also a chance for kids to get to know their teachers. You know, again, we were at a disadvantage to start the year because our kids just didn't know our teachers. So that was, the principals felt pretty strongly that we want to get them in front of our teachers, at least for a little bit, to get to know them. So that'll be happening all next week. Next Friday will be another professional development day, and then we will start remote learning the following Tuesday after Labor Day with set schedules for kids. So it'll be synchronous during the day.
For the orientation, those are small groups, correct? Those are only a limited number of
That is
students.
that is a correct
Small?
statement. Small, yes, very
Small?
yeah. Small groups will be coming in.
Very
Absolutely.
small,
What parents had to do is they had to sign up for times. So very directed, 10 at a time. I think even with some of the elementary, we had some parents who obviously didn't feel comfortable, and so our teachers will be doing those orientations virtually for our parents. So, and for the one, if they're doing it virtually, then they're going to set up an appointment time with their building principal, secretaries to come in and get the materials. So yeah, all physically distanced, very small groups for sure.
Thank you.
No worries, absolutely. Food distribution also starts next week, so thank you to Mrs. Neal and her team that we will start distribution Monday through Friday next week. We gave families different choices. Do they want to pick up everything on Monday? Do they want to come up every day? Do they want to pick it up from 8 to 10, 12 to 2? So she's been doing a great job organizing that, and that'll start next week also. And we'll do that every week as we continue through remote learning. Very encouraged with the health data from last week coming out of Cuyahoga County. I think this is week 2 of us being in orange, and so hopefully that trend continues, that at some point, if we continue that way, I would come to the board with a recommendation to start in a hybrid format coming back. I think if we were able to do that, I would recommend to the board that we would stay in our hybrid through the end of the first quarter, which would be October 30th. And then based on the health status at that time, if we were still in orange, I would recommend to the board, let's come back traditional full-time. So I really do believe that I think data is trending very good. And I'm hoping we can get through Labor Day with the continued health data. So I would encourage everybody, I think the masks are working. You know, and for me personally, it's a bit of a nuisance and it's hot and things like that, but I really believe that the masks are working. And so hopefully we can get through Labor Day with some of that same good data and that at some point I'd come to the board and say, I'd like to recommend coming back in hybrid. And I think that would be a good middle ground, so we haven't been in school for almost 6-7 months at that point. That's 4 days a week for our students, and if we can get a good trend going, a good momentum, I'm hoping at some point we can get back full go. But again, we want to be respectful of families and make sure we're safe to do that. So very, very encouraging data, and hopefully tomorrow when the governor reports, we're still in orange, so that would be a good thing. Board committees, I know we're starting to open up the year, and so I'm probably gonna recommend that at some point, I know Mr. Singer, you're meeting with Mrs. A this week, in terms of the finance committee, but at some point in the next week or so, I'll be reaching out to board members for committee meetings, just so we can have those initial conversations. That's gonna be new for me, and I just wanna see how it's been done in the past and just kinda get a feel on how everything's going. So I'm excited for those committee meetings to begin in hopefully a couple weeks. I mentioned that we are starting remote learning on September 8th. And then just some data to report. As of today, we've had 50 new registrations in the district. So that's also very encouraging. So that is my report, Ms.
Thank
President.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now on to the treasurer's report. Mrs. A?
Yes, I have a few things. I have passed out budgets for the school year for athletics, high school, middle school, and elementary school. So all of the departments are not done, but those 4 are, and I gave them to the secretaries and the supervisors, so they have their budgets, their codes, and their amounts, and it's already in the accounting system for them. The appropriations for FY21 are almost complete, and I'll have that ready for you for the approval on the September 15th meeting. And then I'm working on student activities. Activities have been approved by the board in the past, but I'm trying to do a more efficient, streamlined process. So those might be coming intermittently again for this school year, but then for next school year, we'll just have it a one-time approval for the whole year. And if there's any amendments or changes, I'll bring that to the board. And then, I was in contact with Charles Harris Associates and Auditor of State. They have started the FY20 audit. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Now on to approval of minutes. And now, resolve that the minutes of the Tuesday, August 18th, 2020 Board of Education meeting be adopted and all action taken by the Board of Education at said meeting is hereby reaffirmed and approved. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Questions, comments? Mr. and Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oker,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Do you wanna go back to 2.3?
2.3.
You missed the bottom page.
Bottom of the first page.
Committee of board members,
Are we doing that for this meeting or second meeting of the month? We usually don't do it. Do you
Okay.
guys wanna do it?
that's fine.
Do
Anybody got
anyone
anything to report?
have anything? Because I know we usually don't do it for a second meeting of the month, but does anyone?
So the only thing I would say is the convocation that was held on Monday, is that a normal thing that we've done every year?
I'm gonna
To
be honest,
kind of break the
I
ice.
assumed they do something of
They
that
do
nature, of some
something.
type of
Get together.
get together. I can't tell you the format from that,
Okay.
Mr. Slattery, but I know they do get together in some form.
Just having been there and seeing, I mean, it was a very well worth the time, the icebreaker to kind of just ease everybody back in. That Jack Burkmeyer,
Berkmeyer, correct?
very funny guy. I don't know what you had to do to get him here. I think it was well worth having him here. He was all joking around, kind of engaging everybody, and then he got serious and kind of brought it back in at the end, and I think it was well worth being here, so I thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for being there, I really appreciate it, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ms. Bart, just for clarification, do you want me to leave the committee reports off of the second meeting of the
Yes.
month?
No, usually
Okay.
we don't, yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay. Resolve that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the second reading and adoption of the following policies as noted.
Did we finish voting? Did we vote on approval of the minutes? Did we
Yes.
vote?
Yeah,
did.
we did.
Oh,
We did.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
the first one.
I usually mark mine. I apologize.
That's okay. Do we need a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Resolve Result that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the GPD group approval for the completion of tasks 3 and 4 for the construction administration services for the redevelopment of a practice field located northwest of Brooklyn Stadium, 4500 Hurricane Alley, Brooklyn, Ohio, 44144, per the attachment on file in the treasurer's office. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Ms. Barczyk, this is the final step in terms of, this will cover my comments for 4.3 also. We'll approve tasks 3 and 4. I think I included the timeline from GPD at some point in one of my weekly updates. And so it's anticipated that we'll go to public bid this week or early next week, and that the project will be tentatively completed at some point this fall. So I think that's good news.
Okay.
Just sort of, I got a call from a resident on Rodone, just asking
Yes.
about the update, and I told her that we were in the process, that there was something on the agenda for tonight for us to continue on, and that hopefully by the end of the year, that will all be leveled and,
Yeah.
you know, that whole issue is taken care of. She was more than happy about it, so.
Just like, I'll also notify the city to let them know that we're gonna be proceeding with the project. I think they know that from the work with GBD, but I'll just do it officially to let them know this is our plan to finish it by the end of this fall.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Result that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves, authorizes GPD Group to solicit bids on behalf of the district for the public bid of the redevelopment of a practice field located northwest of Brooklyn Stadium, located 4500 Hurricane Alley, Brooklyn, Ohio, 44144, per the attachment on file in the treasurer's office. Can I have a motion, please? Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Result that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the attached no-cost agreement with J. Berg, PhD, Inc. to provide group or individual therapy to students per the attachment on file in the treasurer's office. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Who negotiated the contract? No
It-
cost?
Yeah,
Nice
it's, I
job.
was just gonna say, it's no cost, and this ends up being, billable to families. So it's no cost to families and no cost to the district.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Result that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the scheduled hours for classified staff for the 2020-2021 school year as noted. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Okay. Resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the scheduled hours for classified staff, playground monitors for the 2020-2021 school year, effective September 28th, 2020. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments?
This project, this is just an anticipated return date that we're hopefully able to implement, so that's why we're doing the September 28th. Should that change, then we would have a discussion in terms of modification for that.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby accepts the attached certified team leader resignation for Mary Ellen Ryan for the 2020-2021 school year. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following persons for the 2020-2021 supplemental teaching assignment with the provision that such individuals comply with all rules and regulations and State Department of Education regulations pertinent to proper certification and fulfills the requirements of the job description attached to the supplemental contract. Second grade team leader, Danielle Gump. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Questions, comments?
This is just a replacement for Mrs. Ryan. Yep.
Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the employment of the following certified personnel as a long-term substitute effective August 24th, 2020. Jennifer Bayer, long-term substitute, second grade, BA Class 2 step. At the conclusion of the 2020-2021 school year, Mrs. Bayer will return to her Title I tutor position. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, this is Mrs. Bear, is one of our Title I tutors. She's gonna be taking over for, Mrs. Ryan this school year. And then depending on what happens with Mrs. Ryan, we would move forward, but we wanted to also make sure that Mrs. Bear also knew that she had her Title I position at the end of this school year, so that she'll fall back into that position. And should that become an opening, then we would go through our HR process to replace that.
What about in the meantime, will we be filling the Title I?
Yeah, we're gonna be doing that. We're trying to
Okay.
get through the beginning of the year, but yeah, at some point I anticipate, filling that also as a long-term sub. But we would notify that person that they would not be returning at the end of the school year unless an opening was available.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Okay. Now you have the RC2 and RC3 records retention approval.
Yes, and I apologize, Mrs. Barcheck, I did not put the recommended action for you to read
Okay.
on the
that's fine.
agenda.
We need a resolution to
Amend.
approve RC2.
Do you want a resolution or do you want to amend it, or do you want a resolution just to approve RC2, RC3?
Tell us what it is first.
The RC2 is the paperwork that I sent to the Historical Society to do our records retention, so we could shred the stuff that we don't need to keep any longer. And the RC3 is something that if we could get board approved, that every year I do not have to send the RC2 to the Historical Society if I follow our RC3 guidelines.
Okay.
Everybody good?
Can I have a motion, please, for that?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank
Okay,
you.
any other questions or comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Announcement of our next regular board meeting is September 15th, 2020, in the Media Center located Brooklyn Intermediate Elementary School, 9200 Bidoff Road, Brooklyn, Ohio, 6 p.m. Before we go into executive session, we will not be conducting any business after we exit executive session. Resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education enter into executive session for matters required to be kept confidential by federal laws or rules or state statutes. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I
Second.
have a second? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Oper,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Thank you.